Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing good. Now, today I'm joined by a very special guest. I'm joined by Dan Potts, who is a big Arsenal fan, and we'll be chatting about Arsenal today, previewing the game tomorrow. But first of all, Dan, how are you doing? It's great to have you back on my channel.
Nah, listen, thank you for having me back on. So if it's been too long, it's been a crazy season. It's been emotional. It's been up and downs. We're going to get into it. Transfer
Yeah,
window's open, which you wouldn't know if you're an Arsenal fan, but
you literally.
uh, we're all good though. I'm all good. Thanks for having me on, man.
Oh, you're very welcome, and it's great to have you on here. And obviously, we will chat about the game tomorrow and how we're feeling and our predictions and all of that. But as we mentioned, it has been a crazy season, and I just want to get your thoughts on how the season's been. I mean, last season, obviously, we didn't win the league, which was very disappointing, but we improved in some ways, getting a bit closer. And this season, I just feel like it's been a lot different to what I personally expected. So, what is like your thoughts been on this season so far?
Yeah, it has been frustrating. And when you say that, a lot of the rival fans start to raise their eyebrows because they'd love to be in our position. But I think the expectation at the start of the season was that we would be up there with where Liverpool are at right now. We'd be competing and winning the domestic cups, which is something I think we're starved of, and also compete in the Champions League. And I think we're doing little bits of all of that, but not quite to the level that we want it to be. I think Mikel Arteta definitely deserves a little bit of criticism this season in terms of some of his in-game management, team selection, subs, and I just think the style of play has completely changed, Sophie, if I'm honest. You know, a
Yeah.
couple of years ago, it was a pleasure to watch Arsenal, and I've been quite bored at times this season watching us with this
Yeah.
sideways and backwards passing. So he definitely deserves a little bit of criticism. I think the ownership and the board let us down massively in the summer. And I think that's now come to fruition, is why we're desperate for players in January, because the forward line is just nowhere near strong enough. And that's definitely down to the management as well as the board and ownership together as a collect. And then, of course, when Edu has left, we've now not got a sporting director going into this month. So it's kind of a shambles at the top. On the
Yeah.
pitch, it's been ifs, buts, and maybes at times. I kind of haven't gone into any game believing confidence that we're going to pick up 3 points in quite a lot of games just because of the way that we're playing. And when you use the eye test, you start to realize, yeah, we're not actually nowhere near the levels that we were over the last couple of years. Now, when you actually look at the points difference from the last couple of years, it's not actually miles off. So we're there or thereabouts. What I think that does prove, though, is that we haven't actually moved forward from the last 2 years, whereas everyone else has either caught up or got ahead of us. So that has been kind of frustrating, I suppose.
Yeah, it's been a tough one as well because like I have been supportive of Arteta, but I think this season I think at the moment it's quite divided. I know we obviously beat Spurs and that's obviously things might be looking better for us if we can go on a good run, but I think a lot of people are feeling a bit divided about things, and I think you come to a point as well that if we don't win any trophies again this season, like what happens next? Because finishing second is an improvement of where we were when Wenger left, when Arteta came in, but at the same time, like we can't just keep finishing second. So, if you like, where does it get to a point where fans or the board or whoever makes that decision? Because as much as we want Arteta to do well and win us trophies, I do sort of wonder, is this his level? Is this as far as he can go? And in the sense that we've been knocked out of the FA Cup and the League Cup. Obviously, at the moment, we're still in it in a way. We've got another chance to do it, but I don't I don't see us going to Newcastle and scoring 2 goals, winning that. So if you like, I know you've been vocal on Arteta as well, but I suppose where does it get to the point when enough's enough really with Arteta?
Yeah, I think what the fans see as success might be different to what the Cronkies see as success. I think that's the difference. When you look at what the Cronkies want, I genuinely believe they're happy if the stadiums are full and we're trying to get Champions League football at the bare minimum. Whereas some of the fan base, I think, are happy with that. There's a lot of the fan base, including myself and some of the others, that believe that we should be winning titles and we should be competing at the very top level. Now, if he does win a trophy, I think he's proved a hell of a lot of people
Yeah,
wrong. There's a lot of doubters that suggest that he isn't quite the guy to get us across the line and that he's a bit of a Brendan Rodgers and that he can only take us so far. And I think, if I'm honest, I'd rather have Mikel Arteta than Brendan Rodgers. But I do believe that there's a lot of comparisons into what he did with that Liverpool side that looked so good, just weren't able to get that trophy across the line. Whereas
yeah.
I think what Mikel Arteta has done is actually compete with one of the best Manchester City sides we've seen in a long time. But is he going to get us across the line? Now they've dropped off. And I think there's a lot of fans, including myself, thought that if Man City were just not there, we might actually win something. Well, this season, They're not there,
Yeah.
and we're still not on the top of the table. So I think we've definitely stood still while others have either caught up or got ahead of us. I think what would have to happen, so to answer your question, is I think we'd have to catastrophically drop to kind of a seventh or eighth place um, sort of league finish for the Cronkies to do anything about it. And even then, if that was to happen, the fans would have to unite to actually want change at the club. And until that happens, I can't see there being a change. And I think we're a million miles away from that, if I'm honest. I don't think there is a majority of the section of the fan base that want Arteta gone. I don't think there's a majority of a section of the fan base that want the Cronkies gone. So I think there are minorities that would like to see new owners and new change. And I am one of those, because I don't think what we've done
Yeah.
so far in the last 17 years under their ownership has been anything short of miserable, if I'm honest with you, other than a handful of FA Cups. Yes, we're back to challenging, but we were challenging under Arsene Wenger. We just weren't winning stuff. So we got rid of him. Now we're challenging again. I hope we don't have to get rid of Mikel Arteta. I hope he's the guy to get us across the
Yeah.
line. And I think we'll find that out in May, if we win a Champions League or a Premier League, you know?
Yeah, I'm the same with you. Like for me, this season, I do think it's make or break for him because like we've had a bad of injuries, and I think in some senses, Saka could have been rested more, but we haven't had that option. But I do think this season we have to win something. I mean, I know some fans, aren't a massive fan of the Carabao Cup, but I think, it's a trophy. If Arteta could win that this season, I think that would keep giving more time, which I think is fair enough. But I do think this season is going to be interesting. And I know we mentioned before about the January window, and like we said, it's been very quiet. I've heard certain rumours about loan deals here and there, but not much has really happened. Do you think we're going to bring anyone in? Because I know Jesus has just done his ACL, and we're quite light in the attack, and I think it's going to be a very long season if we don't bring anyone in.
I'm with you. If we don't bring anything in at all, I feel like the season could be waving the white flags, really, because even though you don't want to give up, you're basically saying we believe this front line is good enough. And we can all see that we need a killer. We need a striker. We need someone who's going to bang it in the back of the net. We had so many chances against Spurs that I thought to myself, we should be walking away here 5-1 winners. We're not. So Havertz is missing chances. Trossard's got his goal, but he's been poor for a few weeks. Martinelli seems to have dipped, and Sterling can't quite get that run of games that he needs. That means that we have to now look at who's out. Well, Waneri's out, Jesus is out for the season, Saka's not going to come back anytime soon. We're going to need some players, and I think we
Yeah.
need two in the attack now. I think we need a striker and a winger. And if I'm honest with yourself, I don't think we're going to get either of those. A lot of people are saying they expect us to do something. I think we have to. I think we have to go and get someone. If we're going to get one player, I would suggest it would probably be a striker, because we've literally got Havertz and that's it. At least with the wide areas, we've got Trossard and Martinelli that can play on both wings, and we've got Sterling. So I think that there are definite names out there. And people have said it's so hard to get players in January. Who are we supposed to go and get, Dan? Who's available? Well, listen, there's Premier League players that we could easily get. Brian Mbeumo is one of them. Semenyo is another. Cunha is another. People have spoken about Mohamed Kudus. I think up top, you've got João Pedro is another option up top that you could go and get. Vissa from Brentford is another option who's banging in goals. Everybody wants Isak, and I can appreciate why I want him, but he's not going to come
Yeah.
in January. But we could go and get Victor Gyökeres or Victor Osimhen. We could go and get Dusan Vlahovic. So there's so many players out there at the moment overseas, Lookman and Williams as well, if you want a winger. People have spoken about so many kind of options there. I just don't know how we can still be saying there's no one available in this window. There's so many names that are being bandied about. If we don't get one of them, or at least one of them, I think we're in serious trouble this season for trophies.
I don't know what we'll do honestly if we don't bring anyone in, because it's like we have relied on Saka, and I know sometimes we can play predictable even when he does play, but I just think we're quite bad at the moment. I mean, obviously the Spurs game, that's probably, a much better improvement than the recent games, but we've obviously beaten Spurs. I do think we could have taken more chances, but I think overall we can be happy with that. How are you feeling going to the game at the weekend? Because Aston Villa, for me, are a lot better than Spurs, and I think it's going to be a different type of test for us. And obviously Liverpool are dropping points, so I suppose there's still a tiny chance we can possibly catch them. But how are you feeling about the game tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm nervous, if I'm honest with you, Soph, because of the way that we're playing at the moment. Now it's great that we've got the back of a win. I think Spurs were pretty poor, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
And luckily for us, they didn't turn up on the night, so we were able to capitalise. But we did only beat them 2-1. On another night, we draw that game because we're missing chances. And if we do that against Villa, we won't take 3 points. So we've got to pick up our performances and we've got to capitalise and take the chances we're creating. I've been saying that for a long time though, and it's not happening. So we can only say it for so much before we actually look at the personnel and say, are you quite good enough to lead our line? Are you free? What we need moving forward? I think the answer is no, as we've just discussed. I think we need to
Yeah.
look at it in January this season and say, yeah, actually, do you know what? We're going to bring you two in because we need some competition right now. And if I'm honest, the players that are coming in are going to have to start. They've got to be that good to take us forward. Look, I've always got problems when we go and play an Unai Emery side. There's something about that. There's the kind of, previous PTSD we've got of what happened with him at Arsenal and also what's happened since he's left the club, beating us at Villarreal, beating us at Villa last season, home and away. This season, we did actually go and take 3 points at Villa Park, and it was a performance that was quite a professional performance and one I was quite proud of,
Yeah.
going to a tough away ground. I want to see a professional performance tomorrow, and I want to really take the game to Aston Villa. They're a good side. I've got a lot of time for them. I think what Emery's done there is superb. I like their squad. I think their midfield is balanced, and I like the fact that they've got a few different options in that midfield, whether it's Onana and Tielemans, whether it's Kamara and Ramsey, and they've obviously got Morgan Rogers in there as well, Ross Barkley. So they've got a real stacked midfield. They've got players up front that can score. We know what Duran and Watkins are about. They're both good enough to put the ball in the back of the net. They've got our old goalkeeper who always likes to come and play well against us, right? So there's a kind of little bit of history there, a little bit of banter there, and there's also a little bit of rivalry. I don't really think we've ever had a rivalry with Aston Villa, but I think we've had a rivalry with over the last couple of seasons. What's happened with Unai Emery? We want to make sure that we're the ones that have kicked on, and it wasn't a mistake to get rid of Emery. So that's why I think we want to win the game. And look, I think we could 100% win this game. I don't think I'd go into this game nervous to think, oh my God, we're not winning this. There's no chance. I'm just a little bit nervy about what Arsenal's going to turn up and are we going to take our chances? Because I think when you look at the stats, so we've definitely created enough in each of the
Yeah.
games. It's just been about putting it in the net. And if we're not doing that, then how much of that is on the manager and how much is it on the players? Because I've looked at, it's hard because you look at it and think, well, it's not really the manager that Havertz is missing. But then who bought Havertz? It was Arteta.
Yeah.
So
It's sort of
it's
him.
all
Yeah.
kind of interlinked with itself, So I think we've got to look at that realistically. But I would just say this now. I just want 3 points. I don't care how we win it. I don't care if we win it like in a style of unbelievable goals. I just want to get 3 points, man. I really do. And I just hope we can do that.
Yeah, I mean that's how I felt about Spurs. Like I was not bothered. Like going into the game, I wasn't actually nervous because I thought, at this point, like what do we have to lose? We've already been knocked out the FA Cup, so yeah, I'm with you. Like this season, we haven't played the best, but I think if we won the league and we played how we didn't play great, I wouldn't really care as long as we can win
No.
something. That's what we need. I've got a question for you here actually from Thomas in Big Up. Dan, which manager which manager do you want once Arteta is sacked?
Well, if Arteta's sacked, I think we need to say, because I'm not sure that he will get sacked this season anyway. If he was to walk away or get sacked or the unthinkable was to happen and we needed a new manager, I would go and get Simone Inzaghi from Inter Milan. Or my number one has always been Carlo Ancelotti, to be fair.
Yeah.
I want a manager that's got a CV so that says I'll win. That's what I want. Diego Simeone's been mentioned, but he's not actually got a trophy over the line with Atletico Madrid. But then I'll say, look at the job he's done there. It's been phenomenal. Carlo Ancelotti's always been up there as one of my number ones. Zinedine Zidane is another name that I've mentioned. People have said, oh, he's only done it at Madrid. Yeah, but he won 3 Champions Leagues in a row and titles. He's obviously got that elite mentality. He knows what he's doing. So those are the names that I think we should be looking at. If I was to pick someone who was a little bit different to go into more of an Arteta mold, it would be Xabi Alonso over at Bayer Leverkusen, because I think what Xabi Alonso has done has been superb. They're the type of names that I would want. If you want a winner, it's got to be one of those names, the Simone Inzaghi's, Carlo Ancelotti's. If you want one of the younger coaches, I think it has to be a younger coach that's delivered. Maybe a Nagelsmann or a Xabi Alonso, somebody like that. That's what I
Yeah.
would look at.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to be an interesting season. I think at the end of the season, it's going to be good to have these discussions because I think a lot of fans, are getting a bit tired of not winning trophies. So I think this season will be interesting. But with the league, it's been a frustrating one because we've had a lot of chances to close the gap. Liverpool have dropped a lot of points actually, which I didn't expect them to. At the moment, they've got a game in hand, but do you think there's any chance we can catch them? Or I know we played them at Anfield, and I don't think we could go to Anfield and win. But do you think there's any chance that we can win all of our games and then? I do think they'll drop points as well, but I just think it's a bit of an ask to ask them to drop so many points like this season.
Yeah. Look, they've got to drop 3 games and we've got to win them all. I don't think we're winning them all. So I think that we are going to potentially drop another 3 games at least. That means Liverpool have got to drop 6 games of their last 17. Um, I don't see that happening. So look, we can catch them. Of course we can. If we go and beat Villa and they drop to Bournemouth, no, not Bournemouth. Is it Bournemouth they got next? I think it's Bournemouth. Then yeah, it'll be tough. Like it really will be tough. I just don't see it happening. I'm in a situation right now where I look at the games left, and I actually calculated it up the other day, and I thought, how many games got left? 17. That's not that many. Let's take a look at it. And I have them winning the league at the moment, and if my predictions are correct, and I have Arsenal and Liverpool both dropping games here, I have them winning it by 5 points still. So, and that's because I believe what Arsenal are going to do is drop points. Brentford, sorry, who did I say? Did I say Bournemouth? Sorry,
Yeah,
Brentford away. So that's what I mean. It's a tough place to go. But I expect them to win a little bit like when we go there. It's a tough place to go. I expect us to win. We did. So I expect Liverpool to win if we can win playing the way we're playing, right? So that's the way I look at it. Look, I'd love to be more positive and say, do you know what? I think Arsenal are going to win all 17 games and Liverpool are going to drop 3 and we're going to win the league. I'd love to say that, but I also have to be realistic about the way that we're playing. And I know that we haven't been consistent enough in the games where we should have won, i.e. Everton, Fulham, Brighton, home and away. I look at those games we dropped and I thought, yeah, you're not playing well enough to win the league. You don't deserve to. You lost to Bournemouth and Newcastle on top of that. Like, I'm amazed we're only 7 points behind them if they win the game in hand, if I'm honest, still. You know, a team should be flying ahead. It just proves how bad everyone's been because we haven't been great and we're still somehow second. So look, I just let's be realistic. So if I think we're gonna drop another 4 or 5 games, if I'm honest, in this 17
yeah,
match run, because that's showing what we're doing this season. And we've got to try and not do that. You know, we went the whole January to May losing 1 game to Aston Villa, and we still wasn't enough. This time we've got to do the same. Really, we've got to go from now till the end of May, and we've got to drop 2 games, and that's it, and beat Liverpool at Anfield. It's
yeah.
tough.
It's really tough as well because I think trying to think. I think we still have Man City to play as well, and we've got it's going to be hard. It's a very long season, especially if we're not going to bring any players in. I mean, I think Arteta possibly wants to, and he's trying to, but I think if we can at least loan someone in or just do something, I think that would make a massive difference. But I think I'm with you. Like realistically, I think Liverpool have probably won the league or will win the league. But yeah, good point here. We haven't won Anfield since 2012. I mean, it's always hard going there. It's like Newcastle. When we go there, we just find it hard to win. But obviously, yeah, I think there's still a chance, but I think it's a slim chance. And like you said, it is crazy to think we're actually second after the season we're having. Like, it does feel a lot worse because of the results and how we've played recently. But I do think the game tomorrow would be great if we could get that win. But for you regarding like the lineups and stuff, do you think it would be the same lineup? Because obviously we saw Trossard play, and I was surprised. Obviously Martinelli didn't start, but I suppose Arteta's maybe wanting to rotate that left hand side. Obviously Sterling played against Spurs. Are you expecting to see the same sort of lineup?
Yeah, similar. I think he might make one change. Raya will be in goal. I think it will be Timber, Gabriel, and Saliba, who have been immense, by the way. Gabriel was absolutely phenomenal the other night. I think Lewis Skelly will continue to play. I thought he was one of our best players against Spurs. I've been really impressed with Miles Lewis Skelly. I think he's a player that can come with his head held high this season and probably been one of the positive shining lights, to be honest. So I think he'll definitely be there. In midfield, I think it's got to be Partey, Rice, and Odegaard. I think we've got to keep that together for now. And then I think the front 3 should be Sterling, because I think he's just got to play now on that right hand side. I don't think there's I don't think there's anyone else we can pick right now. On the
Yeah.
left, I would start Martinelli, and I would actually play Trossard down the middle. Because Trossard in that 9, I like him there. I always have, to be fair. And I would give Havertz a break, take him out the firing line, and use him and Marino as the kind of subs that can come on and potentially give us a little bit of physicality and try and change the game and cause some havoc. That's what I would do. What I think will happen is I think it will be Havertz that starts, and I think it will probably be Trossard and Martinelli that starts. Martinelli right, Trossard left. That's what I think he'll go with. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think I think we'll probably see the same sort of lineup that we have seen, and I think the left is the only sort of position that I think maybe Martinelli might play. But obviously Trossard had a good game the other day, and I hope that he can get more goals like that because I think we just need to see someone
Mm.
else other than Gabriel getting a goal like that's an attacker for once. But yeah, I think it'll be a tough game, as we said. And I wanted to touch on Havertz because it's an interesting one this season because I think he started off good and it's just sort of faded away. And I just want to get your thoughts on him this season because I don't know. I think he's like you said, he's Arteta's player, and sometimes he can do really good. But I just feel like his performances this season haven't been as good as maybe we want them to be.
Well, I think he started off quite unimpressive at Arsenal last season. And it was only really when they went to Dubai in January at the back end of last season, from around sort of the end of January right the way through to May, where he was actually getting on the end of stuff and scoring some really important goals for us and contributing. I think the thing is with Havertz is he is just a 9 and a number 9. And I do not think he's a midfielder. He's not a right winger. He's not a 10. He's not an 8. He's definitely a number 9 or a striker. And I think that's what we need to do now is just leave him in that position and stop mucking around with dropping him deeper and trying to put him into midfield again. Having said that, when he has played up front, he has missed a hell of a lot of chances. I've seen him miss a hell of a lot of easy chances as well. So, if you know, see him miss a
Yeah.
header from like 2 yards out against Newcastle. I see him miss from a yard out pretty much against Manchester United, miss a penalty, and then his confidence is on the floor at the moment again. So, look, parts of his game I like, parts of his game I don't like. I do see him as a sub. I do see him as part
Yeah.
of the squad. I think he can come on for 25 minutes and really cause havoc and change the dimension of a game. And that's the way I think we should utilise him. If we do start him, then please just keep him in the 9 and stop trying to drift him deeper or over to the right. I don't know what we're doing that for. You know, there's no point Havertz being 6'4", putting in crosses to Trossard, who's 5'10". You know, there's just no point of that whatsoever. So that's what I would say about it.
Yeah, I agree. To be fair, I think if you're going to play him in the position that works, that suits him and works well. But I just hope that he can get his confidence back, because we know he can get us goals. He won't really be the striker we want him to be, or be the player that we want him to be. But I think he can provide goals, and I think we've just got to really hope that that can happen for him. And same for other players, like Sterling, Martinelli, because they can do good. It's just the end product is letting them down a bit, which is a bit frustrating. But I've got a question here for you. Big up Anthony, big up Sophie. Question, Dan. If we get a striker, and that if Arteta does, who would be the realistic choice we would get? By the way, good interview with Crouch the other day.
Big up to you, Anthony. I appreciate you watching and supporting, mate. Thank you for that. Listen, we do need to get a striker. And I think if we're being realistic, there's a couple of options. Now, the option I want is Victor Gyökeres, but I haven't seen any links whatsoever with him. I've just seen nothing that's reported suggesting that Arsenal are even interested or want Victor Gyökeres. And it might be that he doesn't want Arsenal. He wants to hang out till the summer and think of other options, right? But I think it's one of two at the moment. I think Benjamin Sesko, if we can get a loan deal with an obligation to buy, it looks like we could get him in this month. I just think just pay the money and get him. If that's the one you really want, then just pay Leipzig the money and get him. I'm not a huge fan. I've got to be real. At the same time, he is young, so he's got a lot of time to build and mould. I don't really want that sort of striker. I want someone who's ready now. I don't want someone who's going to need a couple of seasons. So that's why I wouldn't be massively excited if we got him. But it looks like the realistic target to answer your question. And the other player is Dusan Vlahovic. Cullen Mawani's gone to Juventus. They're going to be looking to sell. So I think now we need to try and look at potentially if there's an option or opportunity of Vlahovic coming to Arsenal. That one would probably be my preferred option. But Sesko probably has the highest ceiling to improve. Vlahovic is only 24, I think. So it's not like he's an old man. He's certainly got to the stage now where he should be at his best years ahead of him. And I loved him at Fiorentina. Thought he was excellent, Dusan Vlahovic. And he went to Juventus and it hasn't really worked out for him too well, but he has scored a lot of goals. and I think he's a profile that would fit what Arteta wants. Um, Look, he's not my number one choice. Victor Gyökeres is, Isak's the dream, which I don't think we'll get, but Gyökeres is the one that I think we should just go and get now. If it's an £84 million release clause, we should just go and release that clause and then get him in at Arsenal. And I think he could take us across the line with the amount of goals he's scoring for Sporting Lisbon. It's been phenomenal. So that's all I would want. Realistic as well. I think 84 million would be. But more realistic, I think, would be Sesko or Vlahovic this month.
Yeah, it's so hard, isn't it, when we're talking about it, because it's hard to think realistically what would Arteta choose to do or what can we do, because I do think Isaac, I don't think we'd get him really, but I think if we were to try and get him, it would be in the summer. And I'm
Yeah.
worried it will save, we'll try and do something big in the summer and not do a lot in January. So I don't think we'll buy a striker in January unless we do loan someone. Um, but I do think it's important that we even bring some wingers in as well, because unfortunately we are relying on these players that just can't provide for the team. And I think with these players, we need them to be more consistent, and I think at the moment they can't do that. But I just hope, like I said, Trossard as well, if he can get the goals coming, if Martinelli can, his confidence maybe can come back. With Martinelli, I wanted to read this as well because I know this season sort of being like a make or break season for him. Do you think that he is good enough for Arsenal, or do you think that there's better options out there that we could have?
I think there's better options to start ahead of him, but I wouldn't sell him. I would
Yeah.
keep him. A lot of people say get some money for him, but actually, when you look at what we've not got much else. Trossard looks like his future could be up for grabs. Contract offer's been there, it's been rejected. Obviously, Sterling looks like he'll be going back to Chelsea. I can't imagine we'd dream of signing him in the summer. So it leaves us really with Saka and Havertz and Martinelli as the only three that we're believing we're going to stay there across the front three. Now, Jesus looks like he's going to be out for a long time and could be looked to be sold. Trossard, we've just mentioned. Then that's kind of it, really. Ethan Nwaneri, I see, can play right, but he's definitely more of an attacking midfielder. Look, I'm in a position right now where I want to see a left winger. I want to see a striker. We need backup for Saka. We need backup for Odegaard. That's 4 players, and all of them are going to cost a bomb. You're going to look at 100 million for a striker. You're probably going to look at 90 to 80 for a winger. You're probably going to look at 50 for backup to Saka. You might even look to another 80 or 90 in the attacking midfield option. Well, we need about 300 or 400 million to do that, So
Yeah.
this is the problem we've got ourselves in. So we want these players to come in that are elite level now. And I think we need to be realistic, because if we want them to come in, we're going to have to say that it's going to be 1 per window. That's it,
Yeah, I mean, this season for me, like last season, I would have said we just need a few more players to, get us to win the league. But this season, I'm like, we need like 5 or 6 to really get us like winning stuff. Because I think with the injuries, I think this season we've really realised which players are good enough, which players are more just squad players. I mean, I personally think that the midfield as well has been an interesting one, because I think Rice, Partey, we know they're our strongest players in the midfield, and Marino's obviously come in as well. And I just want to get your thoughts on him as well, because I think the midfield this season has been a bit unsettling. We've changed it quite a lot. Obviously, Jorginho's came in, and I reckon he'll be leaving maybe in the summer. Same with Partey possibly. Um, but obviously Marino's come in, and I think he got a lot of hype coming in. He's a good player, obviously, but I think a lot of fans aren't really happy with sort of his performances. And do you think in time he'll be a good Arsenal player, or do you feel like he just doesn't kind of suit how we play, or the fast pace of the Premier League?
I think our midfield has been the worst department, if I'm honest, this season. And a lot of people think it's the attack because of how much they're missing. And I go with that. But I think that the midfield has done its best to really, really be as unhelpful as possible to our front line. I think it's been imbalanced. I think it's been chopping and changing. I don't think there's been any sustainability. I don't think there's been able to deliver any momentum. And that hasn't just been down to injury, by the way. It's been down
Yeah.
to Mikel Arteta chopping and changing it. So we've had Partey that's had to go at right back for injury, you could say, and Martin Odegaard that's been out for the first few months of the season, you can say. But other than that, we've had everyone fit. Jorginho's been fit. Rice has been fit. Marino has come back from his shoulder injury and been fit since then. So I don't think we've been like, oh, we have to keep changing it because now he's out and he's out, he's out. I just think we need to play Party Rice in a double pivot and then Erdegaard in the 10. I don't
Yeah.
like Rice in the 8. I like Rice in the 6 with Party and a double pivot. I don't like him playing in this aggressive attacking role. I don't think that is right for him at all. I think he's nowhere near a Fabregas or Gerrard for me. I've never looked at him in that role or mould. So I don't know why we're trying to play him like that. But we keep bringing Jorginho in. Party keeps going right back. Then Rice is back to the 6. Then he's in the 8 again. Marino comes in. He's asked to go attacking midfield. Rice was back, asked to play an attacking midfield the other night when Erdegaard was sick. I'm like, wow, this is all over the place. Like, really, all we needed to do was to keep Party in at midfield with Rice. If one of them's out, you bring Jorginho in. And if you can't play Rice in the 6, you play Marino in the 8. And then Erdegaard stays in the 10, unless you can play Waneri. And I don't know why we haven't done that. I just feel like we've completely chopped and changed it. Even when we had Jesus on the bench, Sterling on the bench, we were playing Marino in the 10 instead of Havertz. I just didn't understand any of it. It just made no sense. And I think that what's frustrating me more is that Mikel Arteta keeps talking about internal solutions as something that we want to be looking at. He's failed to do that in every single department. I mean, 2 years ago, Saliba got injured and we didn't find an internal solution. We put Rob Holding in, who was no good. And we can see he's no good because he's gone to Palace and can't get in their side. We
Yeah.
had Saka out, and we've not been able to find a solution there. And we had Erdegaard out, and then we had a solution in one area, and he didn't want to play him. So his internal solutions have been poor in every single way. And now we've lost players again. What is his solution going to be? Because his solution is most of the time play Party at right back. Well, that's not good enough. Like it's really frustrating.
Yeah, it's weird because I think in Arteta's mind he's wanted to strengthen the midfield in the summer, and it feels like it's gone weaker. It just feels,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I do think to myself, like, you look at our midfield, I think Xhaka is more effective than Mourinho has been, but I think maybe he needs time, but I just don't think he works really well with Jorginho. But I think obviously we will probably make changes in the midfield in the summer. But I think for now we just need to get through the season. I really hope we can make a few changes in January because, like you said, it's been about over 2 weeks, and you see other clubs doing stuff, and we're just sitting here doing nothing, and it's just a bit frustrating. But before we round the show up, I wanted to get your score predictions for the game tomorrow.
So I'm going to be confident. I'm going to be quietly confident, though. I'm going to go with a 2-1 Arsenal win.
Yeah,
And I just feel like we will concede, but I do feel like we have got the better of them if we dominate that midfield, which I think that we can do. But Arteta's got to get it right, and the front three have got to take the chances because you don't get loads of chances against Aston Villa. It's not a team that you pepper their goal. You know, when the chances do come, we'll have to get there. I always fancy us from set pieces and think we will score again from a set piece, and then I think that we'll get a goal in open play, and I think we'll win 2-1. That's what I'm going to go with.
yeah, I think it'll be. I'm with you. I think it'll be 2-1. I think it'll be a very close game, like you said. I think Villa are a lot better than Spurs, so I think it'll be a different type of game. I think we really have to take our chances, though. I think we won't have a lot against Villa because they're very good. It'll be tough. I wouldn't be surprised though if we did draw because I think we can't really drop points right now. As we said, we're in a title race and we need to be winning all of our games. But it'll be a really tough one. And I'm nervous for the game, but I'm very excited. But Dan, it's been lovely to have you on to chat about Arsenal. Do you want to just tell people a bit about your channel and where they can find you?
Yeah, listen, pleasure coming on. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Make sure you hit like on this one and subscribe to the channel, people. If you do want to come follow me, you'll find me on Football's 12th Man, which is my channel, and I'll be on Lead Judges TV and AFTV as well. So just follow me at Dan Arsenal87 and you'll see all my stuff. I really appreciate that. So thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome, and please do check out Dan's content because it's amazing. But thank you, all of you as well, that have sent in your comments, your questions. It's been really great to chat with you all as well. Please do like this video, guys. Do subscribe, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye, guys.